Imagine the scenario for a second. Just picture it. You've just been promoted.
Oh, the big day.
Right, the big day.
Yeah.
You finally get that title you've been grinding for. Maybe it's a director or VP or head of department.
Yeah.
You get the corner office, you get the budget, the real authority. So you call your very first team meeting.
Natural.
You stand at the head of the table, you lay out your grand vision, you give your first set of clear, actionable instructions, and you are met with just soft, awkward silence.
Ugh. The kind of uncomfortable silence where, like, everyone suddenly finds their legal pads absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, exactly.
And you can practically hear the air conditioning humming in the background.
It is the absolute worst feeling in the world. People nod politely, they go back to their desk, and they proceed to do, the absolute bare minimum required to not get fired.
Right. Just watching the clock until 5.
Exactly. They just watch the clock. And sitting there in your new office, reality sort of hits you. You have the position of a leader, but you haven't actually become one yet.
It's a tough realization.
It really is. So, welcome back, learner, to today's deep dive. Our mission today is to completely deconstruct that exact scenario. We are exploring a massive, incredibly comprehensive analysis suite based on John C. Maxwell's seminal work, The 5 Levels of Leadership.
And we really have a treasure trove of sources to unpack for this one. I mean, we're pulling from a master PDF breakdown, various script adaptations, and what I think is actually the most revealing piece, which is a complete character psychology pack.
Oh, that psychology pack is so good.
It's incredible. It profiles how leaders think,
Yeah.
right? Like their insecurities and their motivations at every single stage. So our goal is to distill this massive framework to help you understand the exact roadmap.
Right.
We want to show you the mechanics of how someone transitions from being just a mere boss to becoming a true legacy-building leader.
And it all begins with, well, a core concept from the sources that completely redefines the game. The central thesis is incredibly simple, but hard to swallow, which is that leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. Having a job title doesn't mean you are a leader. It just means you've been, formally invited to the leadership table.
Which is a tough pill to swallow for someone who just spent, say, 5 years climbing the corporate ladder. I mean, a title is granted by a company, sure, but influence has to be earned from the people.
Exactly.
And it has to be earned sequentially, like one level at a time. But before we even start climbing those 5 levels, we have to look at the ground floor.
Right, the foundation.
Yeah, we need to understand why so many intelligent, hyper-capable people get stuck at the bottom and never actually rise to their potential.
Okay, let's unpack this, because that brings us to a foundational rule from the sources called the law of the lid. I love this concept.
It's brutal, but it's true.
It really is the brutal truth. It's the idea that your leadership ability is the absolute ceiling on your overall effectiveness.
Yeah, it basically functions as a hard mathematical limit. I mean, if your personal leadership ability, meaning your capacity to influence, guide, and empower others, is sitting at a level 5 out of 10, your team or your business will never, ever grow beyond a 5.
Wow.
It does not matter if you personally work 90-hour weeks.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter how much venture capital you raise or, how brilliant your product is. The lid is the lid.
I think a visual really helps ground this. It's like planting a mighty oak tree in a tiny indoor pot.
Oh, that's a great way to look at it.
Right. You can water that plant every single day, put it in the most optimal sunlight, give it the absolute most expensive fertilizer on the market.
But the pot restricts it.
Exactly. The pot, the lid, will literally restrict its roots from ever growing past that specific container. If you try to force it, the tree just becomes root-bound and starts suffocating itself.
Yeah.
The tree isn't the problem. The environment it's trapped in is the problem.
That analogy gets right to the heart of it. And what's fascinating here is a profound psychological shift required to change the pot.
How so?
Because most of us are conditioned to assume that climbing the ladder is about acquiring more personal power. We think, once I'm in charge, I can finally make people do things my way.
Right, the classic boss mentality.
Exactly. But lifting the lid isn't about wielding power over people. It's about empowering them. If you are the lid, the only way to lift the ceiling on your business is to lift your own capacity to connect with the people around you.
So if we accept that a title doesn't automatically grant influence, right, and that we have to lift our own lid, what exactly does that new promotion give you?
Well, it gives you a starting line.
Right. It places you on the first rung of the ladder, level 1, position.
And the defining characteristic of level 1 is simple and, honestly, a bit cold. It's that people follow you strictly because they have to.
Right. They have no choice.
Exactly. It is based entirely on rights and authority. You sign the paychecks or, the organizational chart says they report to you. The sources actually offer a great mantra for this stage. They say it's a great place to visit, but you wouldn't want to live there.
And if you do set up camp and live there, you devolve into what the psychology profile calls the appointed manager.
Oh, yeah. We've all had one of those.
We absolutely have. This is the classic command and control boss. They're highly territorial, they obsess over rules, and they, weaponize the org chart.
Yeah.
But the sources point out something I didn't actually expect. The root cause of this behavior isn't arrogance. It's actually deep insecurity.
Right. They suffer from what the profile calls the imposter trap.
The imposter crap.
Yeah. Deep down, the appointed manager knows they haven't earned the team's true respect. And because of that, they feel incredibly threatened by highly talented or, charismatic people on their own team.
So what do?
They use their title as a shield to mask their inadequacy. They micromanage because controlling every little detail creates this illusion of leadership.
Okay, but I have to play devil's advocate for a second here.
Go for it.
Let's say a company is in absolute chaos, right? Revenue is tanking, deadlines are missed. In a true crisis, isn't leaning on your absolute authority the best way to stop the bleeding? It definitely forces people to fall in line and get things done quickly, right?
Well, in a pure emergency, yes, clear positional authority is necessary to stop a fire. Like we said, it's a necessary launching pad. But the fundamental flaw is sustainability.
Okay.
Relying on a title only breeds compliance. It never breeds commitment. Your team will do exactly what you ask to avoid getting reprimanded, and they won't give you 1 ounce more.
They won't volunteer ideas.
Exactly. If they spot a flaw in your plan, they won't speak up. They won't offer their best ideas. So the moment the crisis passes, you're just left with a team of zombies.
Because you've created a culture of clock watchers.
Right.
And once you realize your team is just, smiling and nodding to survive the day, you hit a breaking point. To get out of that cold transactional compliance, you have to figure out how to make people want to follow you.
Yes. You have to build a bridge.
Exactly. That realization forces the transition to level 2, permission.
And this is where actual leadership begins. At level 2, the dynamic shifts entirely. People follow you because they want to. They've given you permission to lead them because you've established a human connection.
And the data backing up why this specific psychological shift is so critical is staggering. The sources cite Gallup research showing that a massive 70% of employee engagement variance comes directly from the relationship an employee has with their direct supervisor.
70%, it's wild.
70%. That means if someone loves or hates their job, it's rarely about the free snacks in the break room or the company mission statement or even the salary sometimes. It is overwhelmingly about how they feel about the person they report to.
Which perfectly aligns with the psychology profile for level 2, which is labeled the relational leader.
The relational leader.
Yeah, their operating mantra is, you can't lead people until you like people.
Oh, I like that.
Right. These leaders actively practice empathetic listening. They view their team members as fully formed human beings with lives and struggles and motivations outside of just, hitting key performance indicators.
Okay, but if you're listening to this and you're managing a team, this is where I think it gets tricky. Does this mean your job is to become everyone's best friend?
What?
Or their therapist? Because if you spend your entire week just asking about their hobbies and ensuring nobody ever feels uncomfortable, how does anything actually get accomplished?
And you're touching on the exact vulnerability of this stage. It's identified in the sources as the people-pleasing paradox.
The people-pleasing paradox.
Yeah. If we connect this to the bigger picture, when a leader over-indexes on harmony, they hit a psychological barrier called the candor ceiling.
Ah, the candor ceiling.
Yeah.
Meaning they can't be honest.
Exactly. They become absolutely terrified of giving critical feedback.
Yeah.
They won't push the team to work harder or correct bad habits because, they don't want to ruin the nice, comfortable relationships they just spent months building.
So they want to be liked more than they want to lead. They refuse to be the bad guy.
And that destroys the team from the inside out. But the true goal of level 2 isn't to create artificial harmony.
Right.
The actual mechanism here is building a foundation of genuine care so robust that it gives you the currency to tell hard truths. Think about it. If your team fundamentally trusts that you have their best interests at heart, you can give them incredibly tough, direct feedback. and they won't feel personally attacked.
They'll know you're trying to make them better.
Precisely.
So empathy isn't a substitute for standards. Empathy is the bridge that allows you to enforce standards without causing resentment.
That's a great way to put it.
Because if you just stay at level 2 and never push anyone, everyone loves you, but the company goes bankrupt.
Right, you have to produce.
Yeah, just being liked isn't enough to sustain a business. To gain true credibility, a leader has to leverage that relational trust to cross the finish line. That demand for results pushes us naturally to level 3, production.
And at level 3, the reason people follow you evolves again. They follow you because of what you've done for the organization.
Right, track record.
Yeah, you've established a track record.
Yeah.
You aren't just nice, you're competent. You actually deliver results. And according to Maxwell, this creates the ultimate force multiplier in any organization, which he calls the big Mo, or momentum.
Ah, the big Mo. The sources point out that leading actually becomes fun at this stage because the team is consistently winning. Problems that seemed, massive at level 1 suddenly just dissolve.
Yeah, morale skyrockets.
Turnover drops. People want to be associated with a winner.
And the psychology profile shifts here to the results driver. This person sets incredibly high standards, and crucially, they model the work ethic they expect to see.
They're leading by example.
Exactly. They aren't shouting orders from a corner office. They are in the trenches leading the charge. But just like the relational leader had the canter ceiling, the results driver has their own shadow side.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because when you become hyper-focused on hitting targets, you face the workaholic trap. You start treating people like cogs in the machine again.
Yep.
If you aren't careful, the stress of delivering results can cause you to slip right back into that command and control behavior of level 1.
Not only that, but you become the literal ceiling for your organization's success.
Right. Let's expand on an analogy here, because it explains the mechanism of this trap perfectly. It sounds like the level 3 leader is basically the star basketball player who scores 40 points every game.
Yeah, the MVP.
They get all the glory, the crowd chants their name, the stats are incredible, but eventually they become what the sources call the bottleneck danger, because every single play has to run through them.
Right.
If they don't take the shot, the team loses. They are literally exhausting themselves.
And what happens when the star player twists an ankle?
Right.
Or, it simply gets exhausted? The entire franchise collapses overnight. That is the fundamental vulnerability of a level 3 leader. You can only produce as much as your own personal time, energy, and intellect will allow. You have completely maximized individual output.
So if you are listening to this and you feel completely burned out, working 80-hour weeks just to keep your department afloat, you're likely trapped at level 3.
It's a very common trap.
It is. And hitting that point of total exhaustion forces a career-defining choice. You either remain the bottleneck forever, or you start teaching other people how to take the shot.
Giving the ball away.
Yes, making that shift, giving the ball away, brings us to level 4, people development.
And this is where the paradigm shifts from addition to multiplication.
I love the math on
That's
this.
so cool. At level 4, people follow you because of what you've done for them personally. The mantra evolves to helping individual leaders grow extends your influence. You are no longer just producing results, you are actively reproducing leaders.
The math of influence the sources lay out here is fascinating. Levels 1 through 3 are entirely linear. If you are one leader and you add 10 followers, your impact is 10.
Right, simple addition.
But levels 4 and 5 are exponential. If you develop 10 capable leaders and each of them goes out and influences 10 people, suddenly your influence reaches 100 people, even when you aren't in the room.
And the psychology profile here is the multiplier. And the core mechanism they use to achieve this exponential growth is a ruthless application of the 20-80 rule.
The 20-80 rule?
Yeah, they spend only 20% of their time on their own personal productivity. The actual tasks that made them successful back at level 3.
Right.
And they dedicate a massive 80% of their time to finding, equipping, and building other leaders. They systematically give away their power.
Okay, I have to pause here because frankly, this sounds incredibly risky to a lot of people.
It does feel risky.
If I'm a manager and I spend 80% of my time training my top talent, giving them my playbook, and handing them the most high-profile projects, what's stopping them from shining brighter than me and taking my job?
That's the fear.
Why would anyone actively train their own replacement?
This raises an important question, right? That anxiety you're describing is exactly why most leaders never reach level 4. The psychological barrier here is the fear of being outshined.
The fear of being
To
outshined.
genuinely hand over the biggest client presentation to your protege requires a profound, almost uncomfortable level of personal security. You really have to experience a kind of ego death.
Wow. Ego death.
Yeah. If your identity and your self-worth are entirely tied up in being the smartest person in the room, you will subconsciously sabotage your team's growth. You'll withhold information just to protect your own status.
So to reach level 4, you have to find joy in watching someone else hit the game-winning shot that you taught them how to take, even if they get the credit in the newspaper the next day.
Precisely.
Hmm.
You shift from being the MVP on the court to being the head coach on the sidelines.
Yeah.
Your success is no longer measured by what you personally produce. It is measured entirely by what the people you developed are able to produce.
Which brings us to the rarest air of all,
The summit.
the summit. What happens when you successfully conquer your ego? You build a whole team of brilliant level 4 multipliers, and then, those leaders start building their own leaders. You have reached level 5, the pinnacle.
The pinnacle is incredibly rare. I mean, at level 5, people follow you because of who you are and what you represent.
Right.
Your influence has grown so vast that it transcends your specific department, your organization, and often your entire industry. You aren't just running a business anymore, you are shaping a culture.
The sources actually bring up a legendary historical example to illustrate this. Coach John Wooden, the iconic UCLA basketball coach.
Oh, a perfect example.
Right. Now, Wooden won 10 NCAA championships in 12 years. That is an unbelievable historic level 3 production track record.
Absolutely.
But that wasn't his true legacy. The reason he is classified as a level 5 leader is that his players didn't just win basketball games. Because of his intense focus on character, his players went on to become successful coaches themselves, massive business executives, and pillars of their communities. His influence rippled out far beyond a college gym.
Because the psychology profile of level 5 is the legacy builder. They operate with a totally different time horizon.
How so?
They're focused on what they can leave behind rather than what they can accumulate today. Their daily work consists almost entirely of helping level 3 producers transform into level 4 multipliers.
Wow.
But even at the top of the mountain, there are traps. The greatest threat here is the ego trap.
Believing your own hype, right? Thinking that the ecosystem thrives simply because of your intrinsic genius.
Exactly, paired with what the sources call the complacency plateau. It's the temptation to look at everything you've built, sit back and say, I made it, I can finally stop.
But you can't stop.
No, the sources are adamant. The pinnacle is not a resting place. It is a reproducing place. The moment you stop learning, growing, and mentoring the next generation, you lose your connection to the work and you begin to slide right back down the ladder.
So, tracing the whole journey. If level 3 is scoring the points and level 4 is coaching the team, level 5 is essentially building the entire league.
Building the league, that's it.
You are creating a self-sustaining ecosystem of leadership that will outlast your own lifetime.
It is the ultimate shift from success, which is about you, to significance, which is about others.
This framework is so illuminating because it diagnoses exactly where we get stuck in our careers. But the sources give a stern warning. You cannot skip a level.
No shortcuts.
You can't just declare yourself a level 4 multiplier if people don't even like working with you at level 2. You can't fake influence.
You absolutely cannot shortcut the process. And this is where the sources transition from theory to a very practical 90-day plan.
Oh, I love the 90-day plan.
Yeah, if you want to start climbing, you have to audit yourself. Month 1 is entirely about assessing and stabilizing your level 1 foundation. You need to honestly ask yourself, where are you relying too heavily on your title?
Right.
Look at the emails you sent this week. Were they all just blunt directives? You have to relinquish the need to control every little detail.
Then, in month 2, you move to building level 2 connections. But the sources specify this isn't just asking about their weekend.
No, it's deeper than that.
It's practicing active listening to understand their professional friction points, like what is making their job harder. And more importantly, you have to practice balancing care with candor. Try having one conversation where you give constructive feedback without cushioning it so much that the message gets lost.
Right. And then month 3 is about driving level 3 momentum. You take the trust you built in month 2 and you direct it toward a goal.
Secure a win.
Yes. Set a clear, achievable target for the team. Model the work ethic yourself, get in the trenches, and secure a quick win. You have to prove to your team that following you actually leads to success.
Whether you are listening to this as the CEO of a Fortune 500 company, a shift manager at a retail store, or just someone trying to organize a local neighborhood volunteer group, this latter applies to you.
It really does.
It is a daily operational roadmap. Leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. And influence is built choice by choice, conversation by conversation.
It's a continuous process of earning the right to lead every single day.
Which brings us right back to that corner office from the beginning of the show. You're sitting there, the meeting is over, and the silence is ringing in your ears. You have the title, but now you know exactly what you actually have to build.
Yeah.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought. It's based on a concept from the sources called the law of navigation. Maxwell points out that anyone can steer a ship, but it takes a true leader to chart the course.
Anyone can steer, but a leader charts the course.
Exactly. So think about the people currently charting the course in your career, in your community, or in your life right now. The people holding the positional titles above you. Look closely at how they lead. If you realize that their destination doesn't align with your values, or that their leadership lid is going to keep you trapped in a tiny pot indefinitely, are you brave enough to step off their ship?
That's the real question.
Are you willing to start doing the hard, ego-crushing work to become the level 5 leader of your own life, rather than waiting for someone else to navigate for you? Think about it. We'll see you on the next deep dive.